Thank you, colleagues. Thank you very much, colleagues from the press. We want to appreciate your coming. We also want to appreciate your indulgence in our delay in starting this press conference. But what is important for us is to just indicate that we are meeting at a very crucial point in time when we've just concluded our Special National Council, which was sitting to complete and conclude the business of Congress. As you are aware, we've just concluded our 5th Party Congress, which was very successful Congress by all standards, which was also very, very significant in turning the direction of the party. You know that our theme in this Congress was defining a new course for a new Zimbabwe. Indeed, we are defining a new course for Zimbabwe, and defining a new course entails building a team that is able to deliver the victory that we want to see in place. I must say that in terms of our team, we've managed to come up with an A team, a team that is going to make significant changes on the political landscape. I'm very confident of the team that has come out of the Congress. It is a strong team, a team of diverse talents. Of course, you must know that wherever there's an election, there's a dejection. Wherever there's an appointment, there are disappointments. That is the nature of democracy. But the beauty is that we are one team, one united team, ready to deliver change and ready to be different in many respects. Yes, I must also indicate the fact that in terms of our trajectory and direction we are taking, the structure we are coming up with is a structure that is in the Congress, defined processes. First, there's what is called the Standing Committee, as you may know. The Standing Committee is directly elected from Congress, plus the other special operational portfolio secretaries that are supposed to do work on a daily basis. That Standing Committee is going to be meeting bi-weekly, every Wednesday, as has been the tradition. But below it, of course, which is a higher organ, is the National Executive, which is the portfolio secretaries that have to superintend the executing mandate and role of our party going forward. As you may know, this is the equivalent of, in other political parties, politburos. Ours is called the National Executive Committee because it does the execution of the resolutions administratively and also functionally. And then, of course, below the executive, we have the National Council, which is the supreme decision-making body between Congresses. This one is the bigger body. It is close to about over 300, 400, because it has power to then make key policy decisions, which policy decisions are very important. So let me just start by indicating to you that yes, as a party, we are a party of Democrats, and democracy is about mouthful and different opinions. I know that gadgets can be very stubborn. It's not his fault. It's the gadgets. They are very stubborn. They can also report you when you are trying to hide certain things. So it's not his fault. I'm sure you've managed to sort things out there. Yes, I was just indicating that our party is a part of democracy, and democracy is about mouthful and different opinions being entertained for purposes of building a coherent and cohesive movement. It is about bringing people together, and it is about forming a network of cooperation such as ours. It is about striking a balance between public opinion and competence. It is also about striking a balance between loyalty to the struggle, to the cause, and to the party, and of course skills and competence that are required. It is not mob rule, it is indeed the rule of merit. Meritocracy is our core basis in defining who is going to be deployed where and who is going to play which role. So competence is very important. We have managed to make sure that we have the best hands and the biggest minds together to build a great nation. There is no better team than the MDC team. At the moment, we feel that we are the only credible team in the country, the only game in town to deliver change for the people of Zimbabwe. Our message is that we are there and we're ready to lead and ready to bring people to the much cherished new beginning in the best interest, not just of the party, the people, but also in the best interest of the region. We are building a party that is going to win any future elections. We honor the work that was done by Dr. Richard Morgan Tsvangirai, our predecessor, and we know that by standing on the shoulders of this great giant, we are able to see far and further, and our vision is going to be very clear in terms of what we have to do to move this party forward. Yes, we know that he established the foundation, he put in place structures, but we are also going to put the ornaments and the aesthetics to make sure that this great party is a part of excellence in all facets. Our party structures are going to be made more efficient and more effective in what we are going to be doing. That's why the Office of the Secretary General is going to be doing a lot of work in making sure that we implement the thematic decisions around revamping the party at an administrative level, but also institutional renewal, making sure that we have horses for courses, people who are competent for the tasks that are supposed to be done. This party is unrivaled in terms of its capabilities, its human resources competence, and of course its structural resources, particularly through the changes that I'm going to articulate just in a jiff. Yes, you are aware that in this country we have serious problems politically. You are aware that the major challenge that we now face as a people is that citizens are no longer secure locally, or even those who are abroad, being in the diaspora. This is because of the arrests that we have seen, attacks on the opposition leadership, attacks on the civic society, attacks on the trade union leaders, attacks on all political opinions, perceived or real. For this, we obviously are going to be very clear in terms of our engagement of the region, the continent, in terms of what has to be done to resolve the political crisis we have in this country. We are not satisfied with the human rights situation in the country. We are not happy with the reform path the country is on. It is based on fiction, fake reforms, piecemeal reforms that are not attending to the real issues. In terms of the economy, you are aware that most of the Zimbabweans are suffering. We are going through a very difficult period in terms of our situation from a social perspective, from an economic perspective. I was just going through a World Bank report that indicated that we are going to have a negative growth just this year. But not only that, I mean, you look at our debt to GDP ratio, which is very, very embarrassing, almost worrisome, including our investment ratios, savings ratios below 1%, a negative 1%. And when you juxtapose with countries like Ghana, which just registered 8.8 growth on the African continent, you then see that ours is a very serious economic situation. Look at the erosion of the salaries, not just of civil servants, but ordinary people. Look at the shortages of literally everything. There is shortage of everything. The next thing that is going to be in short supply is obviously our oxygen. But yes, we are in trouble. There is no fuel, there is no energy, there is no power, there is no money. And this is being catalyzed by hyperinflationary tendencies by this EDIR administration. If you look at the increases in the taxes, lack of confidence in the market, this is all necessitated by what we call a pro-cyclical monetary approach, and this has its own ways in terms of the macroeconomic policy that we have. In Ghana, you find that taxes are being reduced, but in our situation, taxes are actually being increased, especially for the poor. And you find that the government itself can no longer control the economy. In fact, the economy is now being controlled by a new government called inflation. Government itself is no longer in control. They are also being controlled by that government called inflation. And this is a problem that has to be resolved. We have answers to this. We have put a raft of measures through our smart economic policies. What we have said is the best approach to resolve these issues. We have also realized that in terms of our circumstances, when it comes to peace and security in the country, the situation is even sliding into dire circumstances. There's a dark cloud hanging, over the country in terms of the tensions, the stalemate, and the political discussions that are supposed to be done. We've always indicated that we have pledged that we need peace, we need change in Zimbabwe, but that only comes as a result of our ability to work together through managing political dialogue to resolve the fundamental issues. And I'll revert to that one in a jiff again, just to give you the way forward. Now, in the context of that, we then had our National Council. The National Council made the necessary appointments that are supposed to be made, and I will make the necessary announcements, particularly the first one being the announcements to do with the changes we are making to the MDC as a party. We made the point that we are turning a corner as a party, so there are a number of far-reaching changes that we are implementing, resolutions that were made by the Congress, but we're being given effect in terms of the direction that the party is making. The first one is the issue to do with the Constitution. Yes, we have said in terms of the Constitution of the MDC, we are beginning to implement something that had been absent or removed, the issue of term limits. We must introduce term limits for all key positions in the party. Leaders must be able to lead and live. Leaders must not lead and lead and lead and remain leading. We must allow leaders to come and go. And that is the culture we are beginning to implement in the party, starting with our constitutional provisions to change, to make sure that we align it to that requirement. This will also cascade to members of parliament and councillors. People must be able to say and live. Nobody is supposed to be there for life. We must all be able to say, you do your best and you live. That's what democracy is all about. So that's the first fundamental change that's going to be implemented. The second one is the changing of the MDC from a top-down political party in terms of structures. We are strengthening our grassroots structures to make the party more effective in elections by making sure that we strengthen branches. So instead of having strong wards and districts, we're going to have strong branches. Every polling station has to be a branch for the MDC. And all leaders are going to be deployed. Even if you are to be a president, you must be deployed from a branch. If you are to be an MP, you must be elected at a branch. If you are to be a councillor, you are elected at a branch. If you are to be promoted to be a minister, very soon when we then appoint our cabinet in a new government, you have to come from a branch. The branch chairperson has to give a recommendation to say you are in good standing if you are coming from the political party structures, unless if you are coming from the technocratic side or those who are experts or who have particular skill. The party is also going to revert to a single vice president as opposed to 3 vice presidents. There's no need for us to have 3 vice presidents. We need 1 vice president. That will also kick in at the next Congress. We have also introduced key reforms around honoring and respecting our liberation struggle veterans, our freedom fighters. So there's going to be a representation of what is called the Freedom Fighters Council, who are liberation war hero, comrades. I wish Comrade Matema Danda would also appreciate that his position is there. He should not belong to a political party like ZANU-PF. If he is to be complete as a liberation war hero, they must be in all parties because they are non-partisan. So we want them to be represented, and we have a slot for them in the National Executive, also chosen by war veterans themselves. So we're going to deepen our representation of liberation war heroes, so that they also have an articulation of their interests. We are also broadening to have a disability council. People living with disability are going to be represented, so that council is also going to be there as an addition. We have introduced the chaplains, basically a spiritual superintendent who deals with our issues, especially counseling. After elections, people get disappointed, they need counseling in-house. They must be prayed for so that they are able to heal. You know, if there's violence in the country, there has to be healing those who are sick. And this is a party development. I know that in the ANC they have this at national level and the provincial level. It's also an introduction that we put in place. I must also add that we are going to be introducing a very important organ, which is the independent electoral body within the party that runs elections at all levels. We are no longer going to have elections being supervised or run internally. They will be run by an independent electoral board whose mandate and function has been clearly articulated. Apart from that, we are also going to introduce the issue of a cabinet. Ours is not a shadow cabinet, but an alternative cabinet, because we believe and we know that the one that is there is not the real cabinet. If it was a real cabinet, we would have a shadow cabinet, but we don't have a real cabinet because of legitimacy issues. So we are going to have an alternative cabinet, which is a very mean and lean cabinet. What we have done at National Council level is portfolio secretaries for the party. I've seen the confusion in the media that this is the cabinet. This is not the cabinet. The cabinet is going to come at the appropriate moment very soon. What we have had are portfolio secretaries who are the key leaders who run the various functions and portfolios. Yes, the Congress did a lot of work around the trajectory to deal with the problem. We are going to introduce a new document called Reload, which is the Return to Legitimacy and Democracy document. This document is going to come very soon. It has already been completed. It articulates the roadmap to the restoration of democracy. I'll articulate to you and underscore what the various stages are as we go to a new Zimbabwe and as we run the issue of coming to a new Zimbabwe. We are going to launch this document, Comrade Secretary General Vesu, and in a few weeks' time we should be launching this document. But just to indicate to you that for us, the resolution of the crisis in Zimbabwe is based on 5 stages and 5 steps. The first one, there has to be political pressure and diplomatic pressure to bring to bear Mr. Mnangagwa and ZANU-PF to understand the importance of locating exit points to the crisis we are facing. Upon having that dialogue, we need that pressure. We need to have the second stage, which is dialogue. And that dialogue, we've said, it has to be inclusive. That dialogue has to be credible, and there must be an independent, credible convener. Not this situation where you have monologue, people who are in agreement, coming together to say they are dialoguing. They are not dialoguing. It's a choir, and President Mnangagwa wants to be the choir master. No, we don't need a choir. We need dialogue, and that dialogue has to be between ourselves and ZANU-PF to begin with. Then, of course, invite others who may need to be there. The third issue is to have now a transitional mechanism, which is to then superintend on the process of transitioning our country. We've had failed transitions in this country. 1980 was a failed transition, 87 unit accord, failed transition, GNU failed transition. We need a successful transition to democracy and to legitimacy, strengthening the institutions of governance in this country. That is only possible if we and when we deal with the issue of a transitional mechanism. The fourth issue is a comprehensive reform agenda, which has to do with electoral reforms, political reforms, constitutional reforms, economic reforms. This whole thing of Mr. Mnangagwa thinking that he can just go to Parliament, railroad his own views as reforms. That's not adequate. We are going to have proper, inclusive, nationally driven reforms, not these Mickey Mouse games that they are playing in Parliament. We want to agree on what should be the content, substance and nature, character of the reforms that are going to be implemented. At this moment, MOPA, POSA, whatever they call it, is inadequate. And it's all being motivated by a partisan approach. Even the electoral reforms, they are not adequate. We want deep reforms that respect what the international observer missions say in terms of the NDIRI, Commonwealth, EU, SADC, AU. That must all be the basis of those reforms. So that comprehensive reform agenda is very important. Last but not least is then paving way for proper elections, free and fair elections that are credible. Without this ZEC, clearly the current ZEC is not fit for purpose. They have failed to do what has to be done in terms of running elections in this country, and they can't be able to superintend over elections. They are a referee who chooses to throw away the whistle and join the other team, and for that reason they are not competent to execute the mandate. So those are the stages that we want to see being put in place. Now, in the context of that, for our party to be strong, we need to make sure that we make certain key appointments which were made by the National Council. The first one is the independent tribunal. As you may know, in the constitution of the MDC, once there is a problem of a National Standing Committee member who is stubborn or who is delinquent, they are supposed to be dealt with through what is called an independent tribunal, like what we did with Madam Coupe and other such people. That body has to have 3 people who are legal practitioners, 1 qualified to be a judge. So the appointments that were made by the National Council in terms of Article 12.1 are as follows: Harrison Gomo to chair, Advocate Mabwe, and Advocate Esimpov. It's not Timpov, it's Esimpov. So you must be very clear there. To be in the independent body. These are all lawyers. There's also the appointment of auditors. In terms of the Constitution, we must have our books audited, and we have to do things in a better fashion, not to be like ZANU-PF. We have never heard that they audited their books. So yes, we appointed our auditors, and there are 3 audit firms that have been nominated. I will not mention them, but it's very important for you to note that that has been done. Then there's also the appointment of the appeals tribunal. Now, if you have any queries or concerns, because we've also introduced in the party constitution the fact that nobody is allowed to take the party to court until we have exhausted domestic remedies. You still have your constitutional rights, your political rights in terms of the constitution to go to court. But if you take the party to court without exhausting domestic remedies, we take issue with you and we will expel you. So we've created, and it has always been there, but we're strengthening the appeals tribunal to be there as a domestic remedy platform or mechanism for those who may have complaints, grievances, or even dispute around interpretation of the Constitution. This one is going to be chaired by Chris Mike, and members of that include Alec Mchadahama, Dorothy Pasquanojika, Obey Shawa, Regina Mabwe, Nyasha Timba, Godfrey Nyon, and James Nyamuda. These are members of the appeals tribunal. We've also made appointments, which is the last of my address to you. We have made appointments to the Standing Committee and also the National Executive in terms of what is required by the Constitution. You know that we had our Secretary General elected, Comrade Charlton Wende, so he's going to be deputized by very competent people. In fact, I didn't see the Deputy Secretary General. Okay. Oh, she's there. Because there are 2 offices that we are specifically going to strengthen: the organizing office and the administration office. We've said these 2 offices are so key that we are going to put 2 deputies for each. So in the office of the Secretary General, there's going to be 2 deputies. One, Honorable Consilia Chinanzowana, one of our very long-standing members from Mashonaland West, She's a member of parliament. She's going to be the deputy secretary, together with Jameson Timber, who is also one of our key members, a competent administrator to help our Secretary General in terms of making sure that we revolutionize our offices. As you can see, Harvest House is going to be a different building very soon. We don't want you to come to Harvest House and not have coffee and tea. We want you to come and also be taken to the boardroom, not the bedroom, of the president, so that you can also enjoy as journalists. So yes, we are sprucing up the image of our building, but also even our structures, systems. Cards have to be electronic. A raft of measures are going to be introduced to make sure that we change our administration. Then, in terms of treasury, you know that Deft called that the treasurer is going to be deputized. On this one, is going to be deputized by a woman who is a senator, Senator Lillian Timbios Akropo, is going to be deputizing David Calder. Why are we doing this? We are making sure that we are gender sensitive. In fact, all our deployments, we don't just pay lip service to gender issues. We have to make sure that things are done in a proper manner and function. We have organizing secretary, Amos Chibaya, who is our national organizing secretary. We have the two deputies for Comrade Chibaya, Epmo Chiziwa, and Spusisi Buda Masara. Then, of course, our spokesperson, we have a new spokesperson, who is an MP by the name Daniel Molokele, deputized by Comrade Luke. You can take a seat. You must not be It doesn't mean that when you are... Yeah. I think it's not been appropriately oriented. Even if you are in a standing for which you don't stand. Then Secretary for Elections, Councillor Jacob Mafume, he was our spokesperson, is now going to be working on the core business of the party, which is elections. So he's going to be the head, deputized by Helen Shiriedenga. Then there's a key function on planning and strategy, which is under the presidential affairs. It's going to be headed by Senator Morgan Committee, and also deputized by Honorable Murisi Zuzwai. Secretary for Policy and Research, Honorable Tapiwa Mashagada, deputized by Honorable Miriam Shai. Secretary for International Relations, yes, a young lady, Dr. Gladys Satswai, is going to be head that one. Deputized by none other than our former Secretary General, Honorable Douglas Togarase Monzora. Now, I had a lot of people saying, Monzora has been demoted. We had the elections, and there was an outcome to that election. What we have done is to say, Comrade Monzora has to continue to be safe, particularly in the leadership of the party, which is something that is not common in political parties, like ZANU-PF and other such vindictive parties. For us, we believe that we have to work together, and we must be able to unite people going forward. So, yes, Comrade Monzora is going to sit there. Engineer Elias Mzuri, Secretary for Local Government, his experience and expertise in local government is very key and valuable for us to make sure that we are delivering on the smart agenda. As you know, we can't afford just to criticize ZANU-PF and to be anti-ZANU-PF. People have to vote for us and believe in us for what we stand for. So we must turn cities and towns into centers of excellence, and that role is going to be carried out by Engineer Mzuri, deputized by Clifford Sachiwai. We also have other various portfolio secretaries. I don't think I need to go through all of them, because I will really spend a lot of your time unnecessarily, but key ones, of desire set up for projects livelihoods, because we're now focusing into the rural areas. We are no longer just going to be talking change. We must deliver change. Ensure that in the rural areas, our rural strategy, we're already doing projects, we're already helping people, because we are serious now. More serious than the one that is outgoing. So we have to show that, yes, in everything we do, we are emphasizing our seriousness. Some of the appointments we have met, people like, Fadzai Mahere. Now, a lot of people I've seen a lot of things flying around. Fadzai Mahere decided to join the party, some time ago after our discussions, because we are also reaching out to young Zimbabweans who are able to contribute. Ours is a broad tent. Ours is an inclusive tent. So we want to make sure that whoever has talent, let them come on board. Experts, activists, trade union leaders, they have to be part of what we believe to be the big bus and revolutionary train to a new Zimbabwe. So we're happy that Comrade Mahere, advocate, is now part of us, and she's gonna be heading the Sector for Education, Sports, Arts and Culture portfolio. We have Rast Makam, our MP, being in charge of lands and agriculture. Comrade Ngewani, the former president of ZCTU, is going to be in charge of cadreship development and training, because our emphasis is going to be, leadership development, deploying our people to competence, and building our capacities. We also have intelligence. We don't want witnesses in the party. We want intelligence. We must know what our opponents are planning before they plan anything. So yes, Comrade Machinga is going to be in charge of that. Mr. Emmanuel Chungwanda, former assistant inspector, is going to be in charge of defense and security. We've been working with him for a long time. He was a police commissioner. Assistant police commissioner, not a police commissioner. Yes. He's now going to be heading our defense and security. We have all other names, legal affairs, Brian Dube, deputizing. I could go on and on, but suffice to say, these are the lists, and we now have a full complement for our national executive. The committee members from various provinces, we are going to make the announcement and put it out for purposes of those who may want to see, those who are from provinces, so we're going to put it on the website. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I was trying to shorten a very long presentation this morning, and again, our apologies. We've been hit by bereavement after bereavement. We lost Mr. Msongu, our former MP, for Norton constituency, who is going to be buried in Manika. So we've deployed other leaders to go there and accompany the family. We just have to pay our respects to the comrade. So yes, thank you very much, leadership. I think that does it for what we have. So thank you very much for coming, and God bless you.